90, you got x radical 3, 2x, or n radical 3, 2n. 45, 90, you have x, and then x times radical 2. Okay? Okay.
Are we able to see our quizzes before we leave so that we can check?
Yes. Questions on 1 or 2? All right. I tried to underline the answers here. I'll go through it quickly. 3. Now, they're not in alphabetical order because I wrote them down in the order in which they could have been done. For example, I found angle C first. So angle C here is 93 degrees. Then I found angle side A, which is 37.1, and then 45.23 for C. Now, I'll be honest, I was doing this quickly. My rounding, I said round the sides to the hundredths place. I'm going to be lenient on that. All right. I did this quickly and I wrote 37.1. Please forgive me. All right. And then angles to the 10th of a degree. Some angles I went to the hundredths. All right. All right. Number 3/B. Angle B is 41.62 degrees. Angle C is 53.38. And side C is 21.75. Can you guys see those?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If you want to write yourself a quick note, if you're doing, well, first of all, SSA, the bad word, what do you have to find first for this one? Which one did you have to find first?
For which one?
For this center one right here. You had to find angle B first, right? Okay. Now, could it have been the ambiguous case? It could have. You should have been thinking that in your head. Wait, he told me about this. There could be 2 triangles. I need to make sure that I consider that. But when you went to find this 41.62 degree angle, what's the supplement of that to test? What is the supplement of that? It's going to be right around 140, 138, right? Can this triangle have, if it's already got an 85 degree angle, could it have a 138? No. So this is only one triangle. All right. So I think I know what you're going to ask. I'm not going to ask you to solve both triangles on a quiz. Okay. Is that what you're going to ask? Yeah. So just one situation here. I could ask you to consider, are there 2 triangles here? Is there 1 triangle here? But if there's 2 triangles, you're not going to solve both of them. All right. If there's 1 triangle, obviously you're going to solve it. Another point that you might want to write yourself a note about. Do you agree if you have SSS and you have to find an angle first, there's no other missing sides, you could have an ambiguous case there, couldn't you? Does that make any sense to you? If you have SSS and you find an angle, what? Kind of confirming that. You could have an ambiguous case. So what did I tell you to do to avoid that? Find the largest angle first. Because the law of cosines does not have an ambiguous case. And you'll talk about that more in Algebra 2 next year. Okay? But for SSS, find the largest angle first. That angle is angle B.
If you find the largest angle, it will never be.
Never. Never. Because if it's obtuse, cosine will give you that obtuse angle. If it's acute, cosine will give you that acute angle. And there's no other supplement of it because cosine can't give you the other option. There's no ambiguous case there. Questions on 3? All right. Continuing 3. Tally.
Can I please see the third triangle of number 2?
We'll have to go back to it. Yep.
Yeah, because I just messed up.
Yep, let's finish checking this one. Mine are underlined. Double check it. Emma.
This isn't about this, but I'm not going to be here on Friday. Is there anything I need to do for the activity or whatever?
Yeah, I just don't have it printed out yet.
Okay.
All right, have we had time to check these? Did anyone get a different answer for this last problem? Yeah, Madison, do you mind sharing? What did you get for angle C?
79.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an ambiguous case situation. Okay. So let's talk about it. And Madison, I'll be honest with you. If some math teachers get this wrong, let's put it that way. Okay. So don't feel bad if you got 78 point something. How do you know what it is? Well, if you have this triangle and you can't go off of looks, I can't say, well, C looks obtuse, so it's the obtuse one. All right, you got 25 degrees here, you got 17 degrees here, you got angle A. Now, no option. You had to do law of cosines first. No option. Law of cosines. Everybody okay with getting 7.32 for little b? Now, what do we have? We have an SSA situation if you chose to do the law of sines next. Or what if I cover this side up? Well, if I cover that up, we're back to SAS. You can't use law of cosines anymore. Well, you could use law of cosines, but not to find that. It's already found. So here's the thing I will say. Can angle A be obtuse? Because you remember the argument, when you go to use the law of sines, the angle your calculator gives you, listen very carefully, the angle your calculator gives you is always going to be the acute one. You understand that? You have to subtract it from 180 to see what the obtuse angle could be, right? Question for you. Which angle up here that's left cannot be obtuse? A. So find A next. Because it can't be ambiguous. It can't possibly be the obtuse one. It's the smallest remaining angle. If any angle is going to be obtuse, it's going to be C. So how do we find A? Well, sine of A over 14 equals sine of 25 over 7.32. I have that work up here. Cross multiply. A is 53.9 degrees. The measure of angle A is 53.9 degrees. Okay? So if this is 53.9, you can use the triangle sum theorem, that the angles add up to 180, to get this remaining angle. But if you used the law of sines for angle C, it's going to give you the 78, 79 degree angle. Let me point something out right here. Let's finish it off this way. If this is 53.9, this angle was 101.07. But did you hear what Madison said? She got 78.03.
I rounded.
That's fine. What'd you get?
79.
79 degrees. Okay. 79 degrees. So she typed it in her calculator, law of sines. 79. The problem is, which angle did you use? 25? And then you used, so she would have done sine of 25 over 7.32 equals sine of C over 17. Okay? We had an ambiguous situation. The calculator gave her this, but we also have to consider the supplement. What's the supplement of 79? 101.07. So how do we avoid that? Once you've done the law of cosines, watch up here. If you're like, just cut to the chase. If it's SAS, what do you use first to find the first missing piece of information? Law of cosines. So I put a note up there. Use law of cosines first. Then law of sines to find the smallest remaining angle. Right? 25 was the smallest angle. But the smallest remaining angle we knew had to be A because that's across from 14. C, if any angle up here is going to be obtuse, possibly, it's going to be C. And our calculator's not going to give us that obtuse angle, is it? It's going to give us the 79. We'd have to subtract it from 180 to find the obtuse angle. We don't want to do that. Find A next. Does that make sense? And because of all this chopped up schedule, I haven't had a ton of time to go through all the scenarios. Madison, does that make sense to you? Does it make sense to everybody else? I'll say it again. I know it's a little confusing. SAS, law of cosines. Okay? You're going to get that side. SAS, law of cosines, it's going to find that side across from the angle. It's going to find that side. Then, look at the remaining angles and decide which one's the smallest. Find that one next. That avoids the obtuse situation. Okay? Is this confusing or is it making more sense to you? Confusing? No? Good? Good? All right. I'll be honest, I'm gonna avoid that issue for you on the quiz. Okay. How can I avoid that? Ooh, this is a good question. What can I do when I make up the original problem? What can I do to avoid that situation? And without telling you.
Give us the symbol, please.
So I'm gonna give you that 20, like instead of 25, I could make it obtuse. If I make that angle obtuse, guess what happens? Law of cosines first. Okay, got it. Then when I go to do the law of sines, what does the law of sines always give you as an angle? Acute. No, that's fine because there's only one obtuse angle in that triangle. Make sense? I will be that kind tomorrow. All right?
Thank you.
Well, now, back to the ambiguous case, though. Okay, I'm not saying you won't see an ambiguous case. You may see this, but not in the SAS situation, just the bad word backwards or forwards situation. Right? All right. Any questions on the review? Awesome. All right. I think I have, my computer crashed yesterday, but I think I have were these the answers to the homework from a couple nights ago that we wanted? We haven't checked yet?
I don't think so.
This isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, no. It's the 30, it was the even ones and the odd ones.
Oh, this was what you checked.
You have to wait till the end.
I think I checked them on the. Did you check them? Look how beautiful it is. I even did it thoroughly. I was like, I made sure I had
These ones. There we go.
I didn't get any.
Why did I get on that?
I know, because you haven't been in class.
Yes,
Dealing
I
with the stress of which isn't a lot of
You
stress.
missed this class
Are
quite
you
a
renovating your bathroom?
And no, you also missed Monday.
If this is for Monday, I definitely
I'm renovating both
You're not here
bathrooms.
Monday.
What's so? You were like from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed.
She had
I was like,
the early
like,
signs.
room spray, but I know.
This is good.
I think I came in late. I was
Using the sound
You weren't in this
and
class.
like make me feel
Like,
like
I
I'm
did
not
not
like I was there a little bit late. And like my phone was like
22. Okay, I definitely
it was
My floor is too full.
That's great. Yep.
I have a curfew. I don't understand.
I am
Why
Forgot to put
do you have tile floors?
I don't know how I
This
got
wasn't
it
meant to be.
like in my house.
Well, it's supposed to be.
Anything but.
Why is there tile floor in the office?
Because it wasn't used as an office.
Gets general population.
Oh, the wrong one. Bathroom should be tile. And bedroom should be curved. That's how it should be. Yeah.
Someone brought up another situation for SAS. If you use law of cosines first, they asked if you could use law of cosines again. Yep. The only thing I'll say about that is uncovering an angle for the law of cosines is typically what students hate the most. But it'll absolutely be fine. How many of you hate the law of cosines? How many of you kind of like it in a weird way? It's like that weird friend of yours that you just kind of like hang out with. Go ahead and show me now. I wasn't sure how much longer people would need to check and stuff. Thank you.
I'm gonna do this for myself.
Quentin, do you use your voice?
All right, what questions do you guys have on the homework? Any of them you'd like to see worked out? All right, any questions you'd like to see worked out from the homework? This homework. Okay, here's what I will say on the quiz tomorrow. If you have not been practicing this stuff as much as you should have, right? Things are going to come up that you're going to ask and I just won't be able to answer. Not because I don't want to, but because I won't be able to. Like, I keep getting domain error. What's the problem? Okay? Because you can't do sine inverse or cosine inverse if it's a number more than 1 or less than -1. So either you're typing it in wrong, which you should be practicing all along, or you're setting it up wrong. And now, today is the day we talk about that. Okay? A quick refresher. If you are solving for SAS, okay? If you're doing SAS, what are you finding when you use the law of cosines? An angle or a side? A side, right? A side. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of a. This is something you have to have memorized. All right? So if you're using law of cosines, this gets plugged in, this gets plugged in, this gets plugged in, this gets plugged in, and this is the a right there. Okay? You type it in, students forget to take the square root of it. That's one common error. All right? But what if it's SSS and you're going to solve for, what are you solving for if it's SSS? Law of cosine still, but this time you're finding an angle. So this is where you have to subtract. So a squared minus b squared minus c squared. And that still equals this. So then divide by -2 times b times c. That's cosine of a. What do you still have to do? Well, first of all, be careful with parentheses. You still have to inverse cosine this decimal. This should be a decimal. This has to be a decimal. Can it be negative? Yes. Cosine inverse gives you the answer. Okay? So on the quiz tomorrow, I want to see the setup, and then I'd like to see this step. These are 6 points each, for the most part, to solve a triangle. I want to give you as much partial credit as I can, but I can't unless I see what you're typing in. All right? So setup, and then what you're typing in, and then you don't have to show me the cosine inverse step. You can just go straight to the answer. There will be answer blanks for all angles and sides. Okay? Now, next. When are you, law of sines? When are you going to do a sine inverse? Sine inverse when you're trying to uncover an angle? Just regular cross multiply, divide when you're finding a... Very good. Any questions for me? Yeah.
Like I'm getting everything. And I'm doing great on the whole. And like the ambiguous case in the other.
I used to be able to do like really fast. Yeah, literally. Like, I used to be like this.
And like that, it's
All right, what's your question?
just like I'm just kind of confused.
I use one answer.
I know it looks so weird, solve it, but then how do you? Well, you gotta like turn yourself side. We gotta like you make like your shoulder, and then just talking about like being over.
Let's change this to 5.
So it's today.
So what are you solving for first? First of all,
I'd solve for
for what? How?
And it's subsistence.
well, it's SS.
So you have to do what first? All signs. So sine of 33 over equals
Sign of maybe you can't solve that.
right. You have to find C first.
You can't
So 7 times the sine of 33.
I had to take it. No, I had to take it. Right.
Divided by 5. Sine inverse. 49.68. Now, 49.68 or 180 minus.
There was a lot of like, I think. Did they see you?
Yes.
Is it okay if I grab another? Were they like,
Yeah, top shelf.
dude, they're so dumb.
Can it be either one of those?
It has to be the 49.68, right?
Why?
I mean, look
130 plus 33 is 163.
but you still have another angle.
So it could still have degrees. Yeah. 180 degrees in a triangle. Ella, what's up? I saw you first. Sorry. Quick question?
No, I just want to show you because I wasn't here.
Thank you.
But
Yes.
how would that make sense though? Because like, look at the angle. I'm not going by looks.
I'm not. You are. And I didn't drop the scale. And I could have just written angle y equals this, angle whatever equals that. Like, that triangle could have 2 different angles there, couldn't it?
Yeah.
So, and we don't know, and that's why it's called the ambiguous case.
So then, what would be the correct answer?
We don't know. It could be either one.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello.
So in ambiguous cases,
Why do it anyway? You're not supposed to write on the
Yep.
paper. You are. You
So
write
then,
that down.
I mean, how would you solve from there?
I won't ask you to. Yeah, there would be 2 different situations.